So, hello, I hope everyone can hear me quite well. Thanks for being on stage, and it's great to be here with all the lights, so this is really a vitamin D booster for me. Yeah. So today we, as already introduced, we want to talk about problems on the one side, and we want to talk about a founder's journey. I mean, when we're talking about founders and their journey, founding a startup, they start with really this one problem. They see a problem out there, and this is the reason why they start founding their company. They want to solve this problem. They really want to do this. And in the very beginning, it feels like really rolling a huge stone uphill. And then, once they get older in time a little bit with the company, they need to solve the problem with friends, with colleagues, because together you're stronger. If you are alone, you will not make it, of course. So therefore, you hire colleagues, and your company starts getting more complex, right? So it's not only you thinking about the problem, it's more people. And then you start also hiring more specialists to your team, right? More specialists helping developing the product, defining the company. And then you start thinking about, oh my God, there's something else. I really need to organize not only developing our product, I also need to start thinking about organizing my team. I need to build structures. I need to organize them in order that we get everything done together. So it's getting more and more complex, and the counter, you see, problems are going up. You do not have only this one major problem anymore. Additional problems are coming up to your company. I mean, and that's very general, the story to go. And then you really put a lot of efforts into coming to the point of the product market fit, which is a huge milestone for all the founders, right? So you finally think, okay, now we did it. Now we can really enter the market, selling our product, creating the impact we are looking for. And you want to start celebrating. That's good. But again, look at the problems. Product market fit. You feel now ready, and then you see, oh my God, all the problems, they counted more. I started with one problem. Why do you have now more problems when I just solved it, I think, or our team thinks, okay. So, and then you think you're now ready to go, and then, oh my God, the problems increasing tremendously because you recognize now when I have my product ready, I need to scale fast, right? Because once the product is ready, you need to push it into the market. You also have competitors, and you need to be faster than them. So you really start building your company, and it always feels like, oh my God, this stone, my product, my company is always running faster and faster, and I'm not fast enough to catch it, to keep it. So, I mean, this is a huge problem. You're going down into that valley. Definitely. I mean, there's nothing else. And then you come into the phase, really the deep down valley. You started scaling, building up processes. But then it's not stopping, right? Because once you entered your first market, we are in Berlin, so talking about Germany, right? Then you want to grow, you want to increase your impact. So therefore, you also need to expand in other markets. And with that, everything pops up. You need to do again, sales, operations, legislations, tax, everything comes again, but with a multiplier. It's not only one country. And this really hurts sometimes. But once you did it, you really celebrate your very first goal. It doesn't matter if it's an IPO, if it's an exit, or if you really now feel you have created the impact you looked for. This is also a good feeling. It's time to breathe, right? And that's good. And you can finally clap on your shoulders. Yes, we made it. So this is the journey. It very often looks like, right? So you go up the hill, growing your team, you have your product market fit, and then, oh my God, I need to run. And it's really a huge effort. But imagine what has been left aside during that phase, business-wise and also privately. Imagine you could cross out these two phases, which are really exhausting. what could that create? What kind of an impact could create for you? Imagine there's someone, maybe Europe's biggest tech company, supporting you, really bridge that gap in order to build a lot in advance and reprioritize your problems at a very early stage already. You need to prioritize always, right? Keep in mind, you have partners maybe can help you. So imagine there's someone supporting you. And this is what we as SAP offer in a way. So we have two programs, SAP I/O and the SAP Hypergrowth Catalyst program, which are the foundations, the pillars of this bridge, to bridge it in order to support startups to really don't fall into this deep valley. So that's exactly the point where I would like to ask Azadeh, my dear colleague. Azadeh, please come on stage and maybe you let us know what are the ingredients making the pillar of SAP that strong to really bridge the gap for the startups at that stage. And maybe you need
you go to the next one. Good. So hello, everyone. I'm Azadeh. I'm leading the SAP I/O in Berlin. You are exactly at the valley that Jan just told you. And you have your first customer, you have your second customer in Germany, and the third one, it's in the pipeline, and you're thinking, oh, but there is potential in the French market as well, there is potential in the UK market as well. Oh, I heard someone said, the market is big in the US as well. So at some point, you need to think about a go-to-market partner. And if you are a B2B SaaS solution, if you're a B2B SaaS startup, SAP is probably one of the most relevant go-to-market partners that one startup can get. So that's why SAP I/O is there. SAP I/O, during the programs that we run, we support the startups with a joint value proposition validation. We need to tell a story of how a startup solution and SAP solution can deliver and generate an extra value to the users. And we support with the technical integration that comes in the story of the joint value proposition. And then support the startups with the joint go-to-market. SAP I/O is a global network of SAP's startup programs. So Berlin is proud to be the flagship program, but our programs run from San Francisco to Shanghai. We have 12 locations. We work with startups globally, recruit startups globally, and also involve our customers in the process globally. So a lot of times the startups ask, I'm a German startup, or I'm a US startup. Will you also just work with the German customers because you're a German company? No, we are a global company, and the scope that we involve stakeholders is all global. So the intention of our program is to curate and create a diverse and extensive and innovative network of partners around SAP cloud solutions and extend the value of SAP solutions to our customers. It's a cloud world. No one wants to have SAP end-to-end. No one wants to have our competitors end-to-end. So everybody is looking for the best in class. And if they can combine and integrate innovative solutions out there alongside their core systems, it's like match made in heaven. That's why we know that we have to have an extensive, innovative partner around our solutions. And if you're a startup and you've ever thought about working with SAP and such companies, it's damn difficult and slow. So our program is designed to fast-track the partnership and kind of help the startups navigate their way through our ecosystem, which is pretty large, and believe it or not, it's really difficult. So these programs are dedicated to take like a couple of months. Sometimes it can extend to a year to onboard the startups to our ecosystem. And when the business case is clear, there is a deep data integration between the startup solutions and SAP solutions, then we can proudly and confidently position startups in different go-to-market and business development activities where we would push for our customers' adoption of the startup solutions. I'm going to stop, but before I have to give you one of the success stories that we have been working with in the past years. Zuvu You might not have heard of them, but soon you will hear from them because they have just recently opened also an office in Berlin. They are a US-based company. They are an AI content discovery tool. Businesses use Zuvu to kind of enrich their content on the product and accordingly make like the best recommendation for the buyers. Zuvu joined SAP I/O program in July 2022, less than a year ago. And they hit the #1 startup in our marketplace for partners in less than 2 months. They have generated $24 million pipeline in the past year working with SAP, with more than 150 joint customers with SAP. So that's SAP I/O. That's how we work with startups. If you are a startup, B2B, SaaS, interested to work with SAP, you know where to go, SAP I/O.
No, we are not already done.
We're not done.
We have more to come. So that's the reason let's invite Tino on stage, telling us about the SAP Hypergrowth Catalyst program, because that's the other program supporting startups to really go through this valley.
Yeah, and I think it's really the second part of it, right? Because you've mastered product market fit now, you have a product that scales, you're ready to sell it, but do you really have the processes to really scale? And Jan showed the decline, and I think it's really, really important to master the internal operations. If you only think you have to have a proper customer experience and also customer hotline, for example, when you really want to scale. Because if you sell your product, somebody's come back. If you're into hardware, it's not only about producing some small number of units, it's now about serial production. And somebody's got to operate that. And that's what SAP has been famous for forever. And also, Jan touched upon internationalization. So bookkeeping, ordinary bookkeeping, believe me or not, is really a booster or a killer in growth. Because if you think about only tax laws in Europe and you want to go international, then it's getting wild. So if you have problems in scaling your internal business operations and you go international in Europe, tax law gonna nail it. You either hire really literally tens of people just for your bookkeeping, or you're just not scaling. And if you then talk about international business in terms of multi-currency transactions, cross-border transaction, defining how you can actually do taxing of somebody buying from Poland in Germany or from France in Germany, right? It's really getting complicated. So you better automate that. And we can really do that. So let me tell you some examples of what we did. Who knows Finn Auto, it was called in the audience? Okay, very little. So let me introduce them to you. It's a company that is actually doing car subscriptions. So you can go for 1 month, 6 months, up to 1 year subscription of any car you want to have on that planet. I think they have like 40% of electric vehicles as a share now. And we've been working with them from a very, very small stage. So there were 35 people, I think, when we started to talk to them, hardly into Series A, but they had a very, very ambitious growth plan. I mean, they basically built their product from scratch on a drawing board, right? I mean, if you listen to the founders, that's really interesting because they did not just come up with a fancy idea. They just basically did some math and said, okay, it's car subscriptions, right? It could have been fridge subscriptions, anything, but they said, no, car subscriptions, the niche market we are going in. And they said, okay, that's the product. We just build it, and they were looking for a partner to actually work with them on the back office excellence. Because in the first year, they wanted to sell more than 10K subscriptions. In the second year, they wanted to sell an additional like 30,000 subscriptions, and then they wanted to tackle the US market within the first year. So they're now somewhere close to 100K subscriptions. And of course, they needed to operate that into their bookkeeping as well, into their financial processes, in procurement, and so on. Not really sexy, I can admit. I mean, nobody really wants to go in that. We've been doing that for ages, right? And we are really good in really doing that fast, quick. And although we are famous for doing large projects, we can also do that with them. I think it took us like 4 to 5 months going live with Finn. And maybe another example, because that's super small, I must admit, but we also did journeys with Ghahghaie when they were a unicorn, for example, right? I mean, they were already in global markets. They were operating with 15 legal entities. They had millions of transactions a day. And what was really setting them apart from growing was their financial backend, because they were really reaching a limit in the current system to not being able to operate their growth anymore. So we came in and it felt like a little bit like a, let's say, surgery at the open heart, because we were at the risk of growing the business, right? And we had to replace the system there. And we are now live with them for over like a year or so. Also only a 7-month project and thorough testing, of course, in the end. But we are now there and we have automated their financial processes for booking, cancellations and refunds up to more than 95%. So for them, this is really a differentiator if they can grow. Because if you only do think about the business case of open item clearing, if you have millions of transactions a day, you can really count the numbers of accountants that are there for open item clearing for every single percentage point that you don't automate. Right? So while the product really in the beginning, in early stage, the product is absolute key. When in later stage, you're not doing your back office operations efficiently, that's really a growth booster, if you do it right, or it can be a growth killer. Thank you.
If you have questions, feel free to raise them. We are here to really answer them. As Tino said, the Hypergrowth Catalyst program, for example, is really a dedicated program for startups, really giving them guidance, supporting them with our software solutions. As Azadeh showed, right, SAP IO is really supporting the startups, providing a market and supporting and really entering also market, getting business streams. And what is really important, I think what we as SAP really love to do, especially in Berlin, but also down south in Munich, because we all know these are the 2 big hubs, right? We have a community of startups, right? So all the SAP startups, all the startups using SAP technology, they are always coming together and exchange. So we have this group of like-minded people because, I mean, as usual, you can boost yourself and also together. So that's also very important because we see there a huge value, and also the startups running in both of the programs here in the DACH region. So we are talking for the DACH region. Of course, SAP IO is already acting globally, right? So we are always bringing all the startups together so that you can learn also from each other.
If anyone else has questions, please raise your hand. I can bring a mic to you.
Thank you for sharing. How do startups benefit joining programs like yours? Like, what are the concrete benefits a startup can get? And then maybe another one is like, are you also investing in startups today already?
I think that's for me, right? So first of all, how do startups benefit? Our programs, SAP IO, is a no equity ask program. We don't even charge the startups for the programs that we run. Even some of the standard partner fees are waived for the startups in our program. And what they specifically get, they get industry or line of business experts that can sit with the startups and brainstorm to come up with a scenario, what kind of a business case, business use case a startup can basically come up with, and then accordingly, we kind of brainstorm on an integration scenario of the startup software solution and SAP. And through the course of the time that the startup will be building the integration, we provide all the licenses, demo and test environment, and basically mentorship for the startups to build that integration. And later, our colleagues on the sales and the pre-sales organizations will get informed that, hey, you know, there is this cool partner now ready to market. So basically, we try to kind of influence and bring the startups in different sales cycles that our organization have, depending on the different regions and the industries. To our second question, no, we don't invest. So SAP at this point only invests in the really not early stage startups anymore, and it's all kind of concentrated on the Sapphire venture, if I'm not mistaken. So as SAP.io, we only focus on go-to-market partnership and bringing the startup to our partner ecosystem, which at the end of the day will generate revenue for the startups, which at times is even more important than the investment money and the VC kind of money. But yeah, there is a difference between investment and what we do.
And for the Hypergrowth Catalyst program, you get speed. I mean, we help you to actually establish the business processes and build the company behind your product. So speed is really key, going to market, scaling, and that's what we can provide.
Hi, hello. I have a question regarding how many startups are accepted in a year, and when do you have the intake? Which part of the year?
I didn't get the second question.
When does the program start?
Oh, excellent. Yeah. So the SAP.io programs run somehow similar to accelerator programs. So across our global network, we have one program per year. So at SAP.io, we have 12 programs per year with 12 different topics. And every program takes around 6 to 12 startups. So as a global network, we bring more than 120 startups to our ecosystem annually. And so far, since we have been in business since 2017, we have more than 250 active startups, active in terms of the partnership active in our portfolio. And the programs run usually from March to the end of the year, but it's just a program. After the end of the year, when they are ready to market, the relationship continues as both sides see a benefit. So the program is just a warm-up and the onboarding for the long-term partnership. But I mean, it doesn't matter. Any time of the year, you can still approach SAP.io. We have a big pool of database of startups that we always talk to and kind of can position them differently based on the topic and our different programs globally.
My mic is off? Oh, no, it's on. I'm saying, like, maybe if there is a brief question, we can do one more. Anyone take it? Okay.
Thank you. A very quick question. It's interesting about the part of no equity. So would SAP.io or the Hypergrowth part be willing to work as a third party on an accelerator program? For example, if we're a platform that is enabling company partnering with startups, and we would require the expertise of something like SAP.io to help this startup scale up and basically formulate its back office operations.
From a personal perspective, yes, on an individual level, because we all do mentor startups once in a while with the expertise that we have personally. There's no definite program, but we have a pool of colleagues that actually can really give guidance up to advisor seats in startups, and that we could connect to.
Point.
Okay. If there's any more questions, we are at the SAP booth towards the entrance, opposite of the Get Started area, and we are happy to talk to you if you're interested, if you want to have more details. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.